Tonight, 60 new charges laid against a Saskatchewan man who previously was charged with sexual assault against children. Also, an out-of-this-world discovery in a farmer's field near Ituna. Plus, the Moose Jaw Warriors ready to make franchise history at home.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, May 14th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. We begin tonight with a distressing story. A man from Assiniboia who was already in custody charged with sex crimes against children is now facing 60 more similar charges. RCMP say this comes after further investigation into alleged sexual assaults of minors over an 18-year time span. Officers arrested 47-year-old Richard John Dyke in November of 2023. His home at the time was a licensed daycare. Dyke was charged with 13 sex offenses after police said investigators determined 3 boys under the age of 12 were sexually assaulted in the mid-2010s. Now, RCMP say they have identified 29 more victims. They were all children at the time of the alleged offenses, between the age of just 18 months up to 17 years old. The majority of the victims are male, and the alleged offenses go back to 2005, right up to November of last year, before Dyke was arrested.
The magnitude of this investigation has proven significant. Investigators have analyzed over 1.5 million pieces of digital evidence. They were obtained from 24 terabytes of seized electronic devices. If you were to take that evidence that we located and you were to print that out, it would equate to a 6-story building in paper. So you can imagine the amount of evidence that our investigators had to go through.
The new charges laid against Dyke this week: 14 counts of sexual assault, 14 counts of sexual interference, 23 counts of making child pornography, and now 9 counts of voyeurism. The victims were located in Tisdale, Estevan, Coronach, Assiniboia, Gravelbourg, and Swift Current. Dyke is scheduled to appear in Moose Jaw Provincial Court on June 4th. Yesterday, we told you that Queen City Pride is banning all Saskatchewan Party politicians from Pride events in Regina this year. Now, other LGBTQ organizations are standing in solidarity with the organization. Kendall Latimer has more.
Queen City Pride is receiving support from other LGBTQ organizations for its decision to ban Saskatchewan Party politicians from Pride events.
I personally think that they're very valid in that decision, and making sure that, the parade is safe and that the people walking in the parade are legitimately allies to the community is really important.
The ban in Regina is in response to the provincial government's pronoun policy, Bill 137. It means students aren't allowed to go by their chosen name or pronouns at school without the consent of their parents. The government has defended its stance despite fierce opposition.
I mean, really, the focus of that piece of legislation was to make sure that parents were included in important decisions and important conversations in their children's lives.
LGBTQ advocates say that the policy is a dangerous attack on trans, non-binary, and two-spirit youth, and that it risks outing them.
I'm a trans person that was outed in high school, and so I understand what the Parental Bill of Rights will do to queer youth. It is really very heavy. And so I think Pride is especially important in Saskatchewan this year because our queer youth need to know that there's people out there who love them and care about them regardless of who they are and how they identify.
Saskatoon Pride has not directly banned politicians from applying to participate in its events, but says political groups that want to attend must go through a blind review process. They are required to show how their policies and actions support the community. Political parties that don't meet the bar won't be welcome. Up in Prince Albert, the Pride Board there says all politicians who support the pronoun policy must stay away.
We are a board of queer people, and we serve queer people and our allies. And that is very clearly stated in our mission statement. So with that, with that wording, it's like anybody who isn't an ally and is hetero and cis, they're not necessarily the people that we serve as a pride organization. So we're not obligated to include those people if we don't want to.
Blow says the consequences of the Parents' Bill of Rights have been felt across the province in classrooms and beyond.
After the policy went through, the biggest concern is that it has created a extremely hostile environment, especially in school environments in the province. So all over North America, transphobia is on the rise, and when the bill was passed, it made it rise even more in Saskatchewan, and this really, really affects the mental health of two-spirit, trans, and non-binary, any gender-diverse people.
Blow says that politicians who want to participate must publicly denounce the pronoun policy. Kendall Latimer, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The opposition NDP is once again criticizing the province's reliance on travel contract nurses. And they're highlighting a social media video where one company is boasting about how much Saskatchewan pays those nurses. The video of a man shooting a money gun over a farm background claims contract nurses can make $92 per hour. The caption says ICU nurses are needed in the province this spring and will be paid that rate. The Notorious B.I.G.'s song "Gimme the Loot" is playing over the ad.
It's not, I think, reflective of what the message we would want to be sending when it comes to healthcare recruitment and retention here in Saskatchewan. I don't think any province would agree with that, or any provincial government for that matter.
The ad was posted by Travel Nurse Canada, which is a division of Staffing Solutions. The government, through the Saskatchewan Health Authority, has paid Staffing Solutions more than $6 million in the last 5 years. Saskatoon's mayor gave his last State of the City address today. Charlie Clark announced back in January that he would not be seeking re-election. And today, he touched on what the city's accomplished in his time, what's to come, and what still needs to be done. Clark shared some of the things he's most proud of, displaying photos of the River Landing area and a basketball tournament in downtown. He says with more developments like those, Saskatoon's on the cusp of becoming a bigger city centre. He also spoke about some of the challenges the city faces and will face for some time. Things like homelessness and addiction, things that he says are complex with no easy solution. And he still has a few things on his to-do list.
We want to get more shelters and facilities open for people who are dealing with addictions and homelessness. We want to address and this transformational work on the Housing Accelerator Fund. I'm very excited about the incentives that we've passed just at committee last week, but also some important zoning changes that will have a big impact on the community. And then there's the Downtown Event and Entertainment District, the biggest project that the city has ever looked at building. We're not going to get it built before I'm done, but we have a very important discussion about what do we think it's going to cost and what are the best strategies we can bring together for how to pay for it.
Clark's words of advice to whoever gets the nod to be mayor next is to build a good team around you that you trust. The municipal election is scheduled for Wednesday, November 13th. Saskatoon and Regina are waiting on a pair of emergency complex needs shelters. The province signed an agreement with EHN Canada in February, but the opening date is still unclear. Both shelters have faced resistance in the areas that they're slated for. That's along Idlewild Drive North in Saskatoon and at Louvain Drive and Dewdney Avenue in Regina. But people who work with the homeless say there is a dire need for this, even if it's not like a regular shelter.
It's incredibly needed. It's been a gap in the system. It won't have a big impact on the overall number of shelter beds in the city because it is just for a very limited time, and people will be taken there by police. It's a totally different system than the shelter system.
The 15-bed shelters are meant to house people for a short time who are intoxicated and at risk of hurting themselves or others. Provincial officials have said there will be security on site as well as healthcare workers. A downtown Regina community support program is rebranding to reach more people. The newly named Regina Street Team is a collaboration of a number of organizations, including the Comeback Society. Since 2021, the downtown team has been responding to calls mostly about homelessness, mental health, and substance use-related distress. They're offering more culturally sensitive and trauma-informed help to those who need it most. And working in partnership with Regina Police, officers will attend to non-emergent calls and people will be offered instant access to a street team counselor.
When you think about people who are on the street, a lot of people walk by them, pretend that they don't see them, but this is going to be completely different. It's going to change that, where people will actually be able to go up to them and meet them where they're at, help them where they're at, get them the help and support and healing and access to resources, and make sure that we're taking care of one another and making this a better, safer community.
Having the police on board and being able to communicate and to have our RST team being able to go to those calls that don't need police and that has those trusting relationships, that's the importance here, is building those trusting relationships between all partners.
The team has become a much-needed fixture in Regina's downtown area, and thanks to a van provided by Capital Auto Group, RST will be able to directly reach more people in the city. A Saskatchewan farmer made a recent discovery that's from out of this world. As Jason Warwick reports, it's raising questions about the growing issue of space debris.
I'm not a space junkie or anything like that. This is just what we found in our field, so.
As a farmer in rural Saskatchewan, Barry Sawchuk is used to removing rocks and weeds from his fields, but he recently discovered this 2-meter wide, 40-kilogram heap of twisted, burnt metal.
My oldest son and I were out driving around just checking fields, see where we could start seeding, and we came across the largest object laying out in the field. Originally we just thought it was garbage.
But the 16 layers of metal and webbing made him suspect.
We know this is the inside because on the outside it's got it's sort of, whether this is insulation, I have no idea. Don't build spaceships for a living, I farm.
An astronomy professor traced it to a re-entry of a rocket from private company SpaceX back in February. While rare, she notes more large chunks of metal from space have been found recently in Australia and Washington state. This space debris smashed through the roof of a Florida home. NASA determined it came from the International Space Station.
It's really just luck that it did not hit, right? Like if that had hit in the middle of Regina or New York City, like you said, it very easily could have killed someone.
Samantha Lawler says launches and re-entries of spacecraft are now a daily occurrence, so that risk is increasing rapidly and better regulations are urgently needed. Sawchuk reached out to SpaceX, but no one answered his call.
I think if I can, I'm going to sell it.
Sawchuk says he plans to donate some of the money to rebuild his local hockey rink. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, the Moose Jaw Warriors are back home from the Pacific Northwest, just 2 games away from making history. The Warriors have a 2-0 series lead on the Portland Winterhawks with a chance to win the WHL championship at home. After a grueling 7-game series against the Saskatoon Blades, the Warriors went on the road and picked up wins in games 1 and 2. Game 1 was a tight 1-goal win, but Saturday night, the Warriors dominated with a 5-1 victory. Taking 2 on the road is a big step, but there is still a lot of work left to do.
It's a 7-game series, and you have to win 4 to win it. But I just think that it's so important for your mindset, and a big part of playoffs is your mindset. And you have to get greedy. You win 1, you got to win 2, and it's no different now. We need to win the next one, and it's just about staying in that moment and staying hungry. And our guys do a great job of that.
We got what we went there for, and it's always nice having a 2-0 lead, but. It's no different than last year's. It's never over till it's over. So we got to keep going and keep doing what we're doing at home.
I think we got what we went there for, 2 wins. But it's business as usual. You got to turn the page. So game 3 will be a whole different game.
And Game 3 is tonight, an 8 o'clock puck drop at the Moose Jaw Event Centre. Game 4 goes Wednesday, and a possible Game 5 is Friday night, also at 8 o'clock. In basketball, the Saskatchewan Rattlers are back on the court. Training camp for the Canadian Elite Basketball League team opened at Merlish-Belcher Place today in Saskatoon. First-year Rattlers head coach Larry Abney is looking to make the team a playoff contender after they missed the postseason last year. Abney was named the Rattlers' 4th head coach in franchise history back in February. He says this team has guys that are ready to compete.
It's a very dynamic team, very versatile. We have a lot of players that can play multiple positions. We got drivers, we got shooters. But the most thing is, if I can use a slang term, we got dogs. You know what I mean? We got guys that are going to really get after it, and that's the most important part. Because it's going to be a long time before we're able to get the continuity. We have such a short training camp, no opportunities to scrimmage, but everybody's in that same barrel. So, we're dealing with that. But we got guys that are going to put up a fight until we get that continuity and build that chemistry.
The Rattlers' first game of the season is next Wednesday night at Sasktel Centre. They're hosting the Winnipeg Sea Bears. The Rattlers' season is a full 20-game slate with one potential home playoff game. Championship weekend is in Montreal from August 9th to 11th.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. New truck trade-up is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. I have to say, I'm kind of enjoying the cooler weather.
Yeah, it has been nice. Last year at this time, if you remember, we had some very, very hot days. Not a lot of rain moving through, but definitely a different scenario, at least for some parts of the province. And especially over the last couple of days, it's been Western Saskatchewan that's been seeing some showers and thunderstorms. That is happening again today. This line now just developing here in the last little while, moving southeastward through places like the Battlefords and Kindersley and inching its way closer to Saskatoon. That's in addition to some rain that we saw moving out of the Parkland region a little bit earlier today. And we do have some showers now entering northern Saskatchewan. And this is really going to be the theme the next few days here. A number of systems and disturbances bringing through showers and thunderstorms. Tomorrow, it's a pretty widespread risk through the province, albeit non-severe. I think we're not going to see a lot of severe thunderstorms out of this. There's not a whole lot of energy in the atmosphere to get things going. Then as we move into Thursday, we have a couple of different rounds of some showers moving in. Again, through southwestern and west central Saskatchewan overnight into Thursday. And then as we get through Thursday afternoon, the warm front from a low pressure system going to be bringing some showers and storms in likely before this low pressure system starts moving in through the south. And that's really when central Saskatchewan picks up some substantial moisture. And this is also good because it's bringing some rain and maybe even some snow to the Fort McMurray area, where we're now seeing another wildfire evacuation in that part of the prairies. So rainfall totals for south and central, this is up to the end of the day Thursday, show that many of us are kind of in that 5 to 10 millimeter range. Maybe some pockets of 10 to 15 here and there. But then as we go through the day Friday, we really start adding on that more substantial rain. Possibly 20 to 30 millimeters total over these next few days for portions of central Saskatchewan. And for the north, really going to be hit and miss here. There's some of you who are probably going to pick up maybe close to 20 millimeters, especially to the south of Buffalo Narrows there. For others, it's closer to 10 millimeters. And if you're in places like Pelican Narrows and Cumberland House, you're in that probably 1 to 5 millimeter range or so. The good news is, as this system moves through, again, we're catching the northern side of that low pressure system. So we're getting the benefit of the moisture, but not a whole lot of wind through these next couple of days. And that means that we're not going to see much change in terms of air quality advisories. Those are still in place for much of northern Saskatchewan from the fires burning on either side of the border. And that is primarily where the smoke is going to be coming from. That might be wafting a bit further south as we get into Thursday, Friday. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that. In the meantime, Regina, we do have a chance of some thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and showers. Temperatures about normal for this time of year, though. And then that system moves in on Friday. Our temperatures drop in behind that. And then we get to more seasonal conditions as we clear out for the rest of the weekend. Saskatoon, I think, again, chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Maybe a good 10 to 15 millimeters Friday, locally up to 20 millimeters or so. A few more millimeters Saturday before things start clearing out. But overnight lows still staying pretty mild, Sam, near 10 degrees.
Oh, you can soak all that rain up. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, we honor a celebrated Canadian author. Alice Monroe has died at the age of 92, and Deanna Sumanak-Johnson has more on her life and career.
Someone, the person crying out, kill me now.
She wrote about the wonders and disasters in the lives of everyday people, but Alice Monroe's short stories were anything but ordinary.
And I don't write about, secret agents? Or people who have psychic experiences or something like this. But I never consider these people ordinary.
Alice Monroe was born in Wingham, Ontario, the kind of small town where many of her stories took place. She married her first husband, Jim Monroe, at 20 and soon became a mother of 3 children.
I just had very, very short times when I could write because I had little kids and no help. And so I couldn't possibly see a year ahead of me when I could write a novel. So I decided, well, while I'm learning how to write a novel, I'll write a few short stories.
Monroe's life also provided inspiration for the content of her stories.
Of course, it's my mother I'm thinking of. My mother, as she was in those dreams, saying, it's nothing, just this little tremor.
She lost her mother at a young age. Her daughter Catherine died when she was just a day old. That sense of loss trickled into her stories as they won over readers and literary prizes year after year.
Gift of knowledge, the most priceless gift you can give your children.
Monroe's stories also inspired dozens of film and TV adaptations, including Sarah Polley's Oscar-nominated Away From Her.
We've had a good life together. Those are your words, Fiona, not mine. That is not your sweater.
The biggest prize in Monroe's life came in October 2013. At age 82, she became the first Canadian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. She responded to the honor in her classic self-deprecating style.
This is what you work towards. And so you wouldn't be so ungracious as to say, oh, it's all a terrible nuisance, would you?
Monroe's win was celebrated around the country, and the sales of her story collections skyrocketed. It was the crown jewel in the career of the woman who, in telling private, intimate tales, ignited the imagination of the world. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
An incredible life and legacy. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask or/Saskatoon. You can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.